On this week's show, Inktober, Legion of Superheroes, and who is the Joker? Find out. It's Previews World Weekly, and it's happening right now. What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen, and Thea's not with us today, but we do have a special guest.
Azeroth Metreon Zinthos.
Welcome to the show, Raven.
Hello.
How's it going?
Well, I'm alive.
Well, that's good. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, clearly this is Thea, but
Hi.
I mean, maybe
It's me.
maybe it's not clear. Who knows? I gave away the ending there. My bad.
If you don't know it's me, then maybe get some glasses.
Yeah, you might need some glasses. But yeah, you weren't on the show last week.
I wasn't.
Yeah, what happened to you?
I woke up in the morning and I had abdominal pain, and it turned out appendicitis.
Yay.
So I had surgery that evening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So here I am.
There you are. But you're alive and
I
well.
am alive and well.
And like
Minus one organ.
Minus one organ. But apparently it's not something you need to survive. So there you go.
Definitely not.
When we do the live stream on the show like every Wednesday at 4 p.m. and like one of the first questions that went up there was like, "Where's Thea?"
I died, but that's okay. I'm back now.
You're back again, so it works out. There you go. Black magic. It works for everybody. There you go.
You're right.
You're right. We got to do some little chit chat there.
Yeah.
Things. Some things happened in the world of comics recently.
Absolutely.
Well, actually, not even the world of comics. Spider-Man's back in the
Nerddom,
MCU.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
we're all surprised.
Are we?
No,
No.
I was being completely sarcastic. Big surprise that two corporations didn't want to throw away a lot of money.
Yeah, shocker, right? Also, a friend of mine pointed this out to me, and this was I know you and I were kind of on the same page. It's sort of like, all right, guys, we can stop talking about this now.
It'll be fine.
But he pointed out that the percentages that everyone swore that Disney was asking for Sony, turns out those weren't true at all as they were
Sounds
reported.
about right.
It turns out it was actually less than what was reported. 'Cause, again, we don't know what happens behind those closed doors,
No.
guys. Whatever. It's cool. Yay, Spider-Man's back in MCU. They're
Yeah,
gonna make a third Spider-Man film. We'll see what
I'm not
happens.
upset about it.
Yay. Actually, I also wanted to point out New York Comic Con is this week.
It's true.
We are actually at booth 1736. I won't be, but might see Natasha and Johnny Rose. They're going to be doing interviews in and around the booth, and of course, come by and just say hi to Ashton Greenwood, who's our Free Comic Book Day
Yeah.
guru, and any of the other employees at Previews World. They're here to help you and show you what's available at your local comic shop in the future and also currently. So definitely check that out.
Absolutely.
Little birdie told me that Todd McFarlane might be hanging out there at some point in time, so
Oh,
you might catch a glimpse of him. And more on Todd McFarlane later on the show because something kind of big happened with him.
Just a little.
Also, we're going to do an Inktober thing.
Yeah.
So this is something that was brought up last week. We have our usual production meetings once a month. Gretchen, who you guys have seen on the show, actually brought up the fact that we haven't participated in Inktober, and honestly, that's kind of long overdue. I feel like that's something we should have
Yeah.
done a long time ago. So we were doing our own prompt list. If you're an artist and you want to play along, by all means, jump in there. We had some fun ones. We tried to make ours a little bit more comic specific.
Yep.
But at the same time, just like the regular Inktober prompt, it's open interpretation.
Absolutely.
You can run with it in any direction you want
For
to.
sure.
So
Creativity.
Do you draw?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured
Sure
as
do.
much. Would you participate in our Inktober thing?
We'll see if I have the
We'll
time.
see. Yeah, I know. I think that's usually
I have a
the-
lot of hats I wear in life, so.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I sent the list off to a few artists, and they were kind of like, yeah, if I get a chance to, I'll do it. And then I was looking at the Inktober preparation. There was a little video that the Inktober YouTube did. And they were saying don't feel the need to do it right away. Do it a couple of days before and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So just if you want to participate, don't kill yourself. But at the same time, if you do a great job, we'll more than likely we're going to feature on the show, and we'll more than likely feature on the website as well. And that goes for professional artists,
Yeah.
but also newbies, people who are just trying to break in.
I know I have a lot of friends that are photographers that do photography version.
Oh, okay, really? How's that work? Is it just a
You
prompt?
just use
and-
the prompt and you do a photograph instead of a
It's
drawing.
just, okay, actually, that's pretty cool. Awesome. Also, one last thing. They give me a lot of stuff to say this week, guys. I'm sorry.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. Kidscomics.com.
Yeah.
We do have a kids comics site, and every week it highlights the books that are available for middle grade and below. And so it just went live. We've had it for a long time, but they did a whole rebranding of the website.
Nice.
And now it's a little bit easier to navigate, and we're going to start throwing up additional content on the website in addition
awesome.
to just what's out this
That's
week.
super helpful.
So yeah, very
I know
helpful.
a lot of nerds with kids, so
Yep. It happens. There you go. Nerds do have kids.
Huh?
And that's it. I'm not going to do any more. That's enough for today. Like, we'll save it for next week because I guarantee you a lot of stuff's going to happen ahead of New York Comic Con. We have a lot to talk about next week. Yep. So, we'll save on the other announcements for next week. But it's time for What's at Comic Shops.
Yeah.
Anime is here, and she's going to show us what's your local store this week. And then when we come back, we'll give you some of our picks. Check it out.
Hey Previews World, Mia here. Do you know what new comics are coming out this week? No? Well, let's take a look. Here's what's at comic shops for the week of October 2nd, 2019. And we're just getting started. The world of comics has even more to offer, so stop at a shop already, and you might just find your new favorite thing. See ya!
Thanks, Mia. And of course, that's just a little bit of what's available at your shop this week. If you want to see a full list, head on over to previewsworld.com/new releases. What you looking at?
I am looking at Space Bandits, number 4.
Cool.
I've been picking this up for the last couple of months. It's a fun one, like I mentioned before in the show, but for those of you who don't know, it's basically what if the 1980s finally came to space. Like the whole argument is, I guess the whole premise largely is that if it took, I think disco, like, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. If it took like basically like the 80s music and 80s pop culture to come to like other countries, then imagine how long it takes it to get to space.
Yeah.
And so it's in space, it's in the future, but at the same time, like everyone's kind of decked out in this like, 80s attire and all this other stuff. And at the center of it is these two characters who have been betrayed by their crew. And like they're basically going to do like this big heist and like big revenge like tale. So it's a cool one. Like it's Mark Miller, it's Matteo Scalera, great art, very sassy dialogue, like right up my alley. If you like anything Millar's done, like Miller's done, like Kick-Ass or stuff like that, you'll probably like this. So
sounds about right.
Space Bandits, check it out.
Yeah.
What else should people look forward to? Well, more specifically, what are you picking this week?
Die.
Nice.
Of course. We're on to issue number 8. And of course, this is from my favorite Kieran Gillen.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And again, for those of you that don't know, this is sort of an adult D&D tale. So a group of kids discover a set of dice, and it essentially brings them into another world that's sort of fantasy D&D based stuff.
Yeah.
And there's an incident, and most of them come back. And of course, they're traumatized like no other because it was real, right? And they've been missing for however long, and they all go through various forms of therapy, and then they grow up.
Okay.
And then it comes back to get them, essentially, the realm that they left.
Huh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing the solicitors describing as goth Jumanji, but
yeah, that's it. I mean,
it sounds more like It Meets Jumanji, actually, now that I think
a little
about it. Like, yeah.
Kind of.
A little bit.
I understand that. Yeah, that's a decent correlation, for sure. Yeah, but it's definitely dark D&D, Jumanji kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
And it's really good. The characters are great. Like, the artwork is great. The writing is great. I love it.
Yeah, Kieran Gillen for the win.
Fabulous.
Something else to look forward this week. I'm just going to repeat myself, I guess, this week. It's House of X number 6.
Oh, we're all surprised.
All surprised, right. We're almost at the end of this run. Like, they've been doing kind of like a parallel series, House of X and Powers of 10.
Yep.
And now we're at the point where, like, everything's coming to a head. I've been doing this podcast called the Do You Even Review Cast, where like we've been kind of reviewing each issue as they come out. Every 2 weeks we try to like play catch up with each issue. And we were geeking out hard this past week because like just some of the revelations, some of the things that have happened in the last couple of issues. It's I've said this before. The X-Men are supposed to evolve.
Absolutely.
Like that is a central theme in these books, and one of the most popular runs of those characters is usually when they do something different. They mix it up a lot.
For sure.
And this book is really doing that.
Nice.
And it's a testament to that theory, which is, the X-Men are supposed to be evolved, and like you get to do cool things with each of these characters and make them kind of turn a corner in their fictional lives.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a good one. If you're not caught up on it, you should probably catch up on it. I saw someone saying like, oh, you should wait for the trade because it's really good. I'm like, no, you pick it up now because it's really good.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's jump on it because you know, this is the end of this particular run, but after this is going to be Hickman's regular X-Men run, which is pretty much just seeding all these ideas and these like, you know, potential plot lines for that particular series. I'm assuming. So jump on it, check it out.
Absolutely.
So those are our picks, but what else can people look forward to? What are the big ticket items this week?
I still have one pick left.
Oh, you do have one pick left. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
'Tis the season.
It is. Ta-da. We're here now.
For Halloween.
It is.
The most wonderful time of the year.
It is.
So I have Betty Page. She's got a Halloween special one-shot.
Nice.
And these crack me up because she's a pinup model, right?
Yeah,
but in these comics, she's sort of like a model agent.
Okay, right.
Right?
Yeah,
So she's in upstate New York at Annandale College. And of course, there's some weird supernatural stuff going down. So she teams up with a young lady, and they have to sort of figure out what's going on with the Annandale horror.
I love this, like there's some community college being
Right? Yeah, it's so silly. And of course, it turns out to be werewolves.
Right. Okay.
So
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
very cute, very fun. Hey,
You know.
it's in the solicitation, my friend.
There you go. That's the
I ain't
hook.
giving away nothing that they can't read for themselves.
This is true. No, I think these are kind of neat. Like I've never really like delved too much into these Betty Page books, but like at the same time, they've done one-shots before. They did one last year in the little Halloween special. I had no idea that was like, you know, I just like I never understood like I was like, how do you make a Betty Page comic? But it makes sense that like
very cute.
she's moonlighting as like an agent
It's the same with like the Elvira stuff. Too,
Right, yeah. Just like modeling misadventures, so cool. Also, stuff that you should look out for this week, big ticket items. Legion of Superheroes #2, Millennium, is out this week. It's got a cool cover by Ryan Sook. I have not read the first issue yet. I have it on hold. It's on hold at my comic shop, and I just haven't picked it up yet. But I love Ryan Sook's art, and like the cover is like Superman getting his Legion of Superhero ring for the first time, but it's from the perspective of the ring. It's just kind of neat. I like it. It's just like a cool thing.
Yeah.
I have high hopes for this book. Like I've never really read Losh, as the kids call it, but like ever, like a period. But at the same time, like I'm curious about this concept because basically they're traveling 1,000 years into the future, which has always been the premise for Legion of Superheroes.
Right.
And like they're in the 31st century, but they're showing us all the things that have happened in the last 1,000 years that build up to, I guess, what is going to be a regular Legion of Superheroes book.
Cool.
So yeah, definitely check it out.
Absolutely.
I'm curious about it. Like it's Brian Michael Bendis and like a slew of like really talented artists, like actually some of the best in comics right now. What else should people look out for?
So we've got another cool Halloween themed guy going on
Nice.
here. This is Vampire State Building. So it's a horror series from the artist of The Walking Dead. His name's Charlie Adler, if you don't know. And it's about a young guy who's on the verge of being sent away for active military duty. And he goes to meet his friends at the top of the Empire State Building for a farewell party, and they're attacked by vampires.
Nice. There you go. I love that. Yeah.
So then, of course, the vampires are, taking over and stuff. So hanging out in the building for like ever.
Right. Yeah. No, we did an interview with the creative team, and yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, clearly, like you can make Die Hard comparisons like almost off the bat, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Like,
No.
I'm from a generation of Die Hard clones, so
Me more.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, because
What a
vampires
tragedy.
meet Die Hard. Yeah, sure, I'm with that.
Sign me up, yeah.
But yeah, if you want to check out that interview because it's on the website right now.
Yeah.
Also, I did an interview this past week with I'm not even going to attempt to say her name. I'm so sorry, Claudia. She's a really talented artist. She's on the cover of Mezzo #1. I can write her last name really good, but I
Can't
can't
say it out loud.
say it out loud, and I'm
Aw.
not going to try to butcher it out of respect for her. But Claudia, she's like we do a Got It Covered series every month, and the artist behind Mezzo #1, the cover. Did a process breakdown for us. So like she showed us like, the various stages of just kind of getting the composition of the image, like her thought process behind that. Also the comics she grew up on, just kind of getting to know her a little bit. Check that out. It's Got It Covered. It's on the front page of our website today. And actually, why don't we show you guys a trailer? Here's Mezzo #1, the trailer, and it's from A Wave Blue World. And when we come back, we'll get into some news. How about that? And that was a trailer from Mezzo from A Wave Blue World. We've talked to a few people at A Wave Blue World. We did like a little spot in our San Diego Comics at Comic-Con like bit.
Cool.
And like, yeah, their whole thing is like they want to like, you know, find culturally relevant stories and focus on them and kind of give these people a spotlight. You know, gives different cultures a spotlight to tell their stories of adventure and fantasy.
That's cool.
And this one is being labeled as a fantasy epic. I'm getting some Princess Mononoke vibes from it, actually, just based off of like some of the imagery.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that's your jam, check it out. Also, it's time for news. Thea's here. Or, I'm sorry, Raven's here. Don't tell anybody. And she's going to show us what's happened in the world of comics in the last 7 days. Take it away.
Mad Cave Studios' second annual talent search concludes. With a commitment to producing quality stories from a diverse background of creators, the Mad Cave Studios talent search is designed to discover talent that will help contribute to a growing list of titles. After digging through all of the amazing submissions, the editorial team at Mad Cave led the search for fresh voices and secured a talented group of 4 artists and 4 writers. Each of the winners selected showcases an undeniable talent that brings a variety of fresh styles and techniques to the cave.
That's actually pretty awesome. I'm assuming, like, I guess the missing piece of this puzzle is that, like, ultimately these books will be featured in the previews catalog.
Sure.
So, like, definitely keep a lookout for Mad Cave in the previews section, but also just look out for these new titles as they pop up in the next coming months.
For sure.
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin's A Song of Fire and Ice saga returns to comic books with the new George R.R. Martin's A Clash of Kings. Based on the award-winning and critically acclaimed second novel in Martin's magnum opus, Landy Q. Walker returns to adapt these iconic scenes to the comics medium. He's joined by his own small council of collaborators, including right-hand man Mel Ruby on art. The series opens up about halfway through the 1998 novel, with a certain Baratheon just felled, spurring Catelyn Stark and Brienne of Tarth on the run, while Tyrion Lannister has settled in with his new paramour Shae. Arya Stark is still held in Harrenhal, and other key players move around the board. Everything only gets more exciting from here. For the time being, this will be the only major media offering for fans to dive into the Game of Thrones world, with the smash hit HBO series concluded, Martin working on the next novel, and future projects still in development. George R.R. Martin's A Clash of Kings #1 is slated for release in January 2020.
Yeah, very cool. And maybe you'll like this ending. I don't know. I mean, if it's based on the book, I guess maybe.
It's
but
probably the same.
It might be the same. Actually, you're right. Yeah, because like he's not even done with the last book.
No.
So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to be based off his novels, not the TV show. So
Oh, fair enough.
yeah. So maybe they'll hold off until he's done, whenever that is. I don't know. You know.
I'm always here for some new GOT.
GOT. Some new got.
Some new guts. Next up, on October 9th, with the release of Spawn 301, Todd McFarlane will step into uncharted territory in the comic world. He will officially earn the Guinness World Records title for the longest-running creator-owned superhero comic book series for his creation of Spawn. Those who have been following the series understand that this was no easy feat. The Spawn comic book series was first published in '92 by Image Comics and sold over 1.7 million copies. Since its debut, Spawn has continued to be a fan-favorite title around the world. It's published in 12 languages and sold in 37 countries. This all means the story of Spawn has been evolving for almost 3 decades in order to achieve this goal. Fans are invited to witness Todd McFarlane receive his official Guinness World Records certificate next week on Saturday at New York Comic Con.
Nice, nice. No, you know, we're in this kind of like slightly annoying phase with comics where like you get a creative team and they don't last on the book for very long.
Sure.
Or like they switch out artists. So the same writer, different artist, different writer, different artist. Like you can't get a straight run of anything,
Right.
which is like kind of frustrating as a reader.
Fair enough.
And for someone to go 3 decades. And like, I mean, I know that like, you know, he had Grant Morrison come in and like, you know, he had a couple other people, Frank Miller, et cetera, do the book at one point in time. But ultimately it's always been Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
Yeah.
And he's always kind of been he's always exclusively been interested in telling his story straight through.
It's his
so
baby.
yeah, so congratulations, 301.
Really
That's
cool.
awesome.
It's really, really cool.
It is,
for
yeah.
sure.
You know, especially for an indie guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And last, Marvel Entertainment and Games Workshop announced a collaboration that will bring exciting new Warhammer stories to comics and graphic novels. As the producer of some of the world's most popular tabletop miniature games, Games Workshop has captured the imagination of fans around the globe with Warhammer 40k, set in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, and Warhammer Age of Sigmar, set amid the never-ending battles in the mortal realms. Details on upcoming comic book titles and creative teams will be shared at a later date. So keep an eye on the Previews World website for more information and updates.
Yeah, no, Marvel's grabbing up a lot of like licensed properties. I know.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, like they just had, I mean, of course they just grabbed Conan, and they just announced that they're going to be doing more Robert E. Howard stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting to see that, like, yeah, Warhammer, well, specifically the Games Workshop properties are like coming to Marvel. So yeah.
There's a lot of lore with all these games.
There's a lot. Yeah, I was working at a comic shop when like that was kind of like the initial wave of those things were kind of kicking off, and like we had all the starter kits and like, you know, the different miniatures and all that other stuff, and
it's intense.
Yeah, they tried to get us to play it, and I was like, I don't know.
It's too many.
Yeah, it's too many.
I can barely play Risk.
Right, there you go. Right, I can barely play Connect 4, guys. I can't even agree on the rules of Uno. I think like, oh, don't die. Sorry, Appendix is getting its revenge from heaven. There you go.
No, that thing went straight to hell.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's fair too. All right, that's okay. It won't be alone, I'm sure.
That's true.
All meddlesome things go to hell. There you go, guys.
Fair enough.
So it's time for Previews Toy Chest. Natasha's here. She's going to show you what's at your local comic shop this week, and then when we come back, we might have a prize for you. We'll definitely have a prize for you. I'm just trying to tease. Go ahead.
Hey Previews World! Here's this week's rundown of some of the toys, statues, and collectibles hitting store shelves for the first time. Let's take a look inside the Previews Toy Chest for the week of October 2nd, 2019. That's not all. Before heading to your local comic shop, be sure to check out PREVIEWSworld.com/new releases. There you'll find a complete rundown of everything a toy collector could possibly want.
And that's just some of the toys available at your local comic shop this week. Every time I see that robot He-Man, like in my brain, I think it's just because my brain's wired this way. I assume it's They Live, because it kind of looks like the They Live people thing, you know, yeah. Like every time I see them, like, why did they do a They Live He-Man? Like, oh, okay, never mind.
Wait, robot.
Robot, yeah, exactly. Also, you know, got to give him credit. Not a lot of Batman this week.
Yeah.
There's like one.
Well, Red Hood, I guess.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah, Red Hood.
Verse.
But you know, normally it's just the Batman epidemic that we have every single.
So many bats.
It's so many bats.
It's okay. It's still the season of the bat.
It is the season of the bat.
It was his 80th.
It was his 80th.
It's
This is true. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would like to blame the fact that there's so many on the fact that it's his 80th, but I don't think that would matter at all.
He's just real popular.
Yeah.
Everybody liked that bat.
Everybody likes that bat. You know what else people like? The Joker, apparently.
Right.
It's true. So we're actually going to do a giveaway this week. What do we got?
We have a Joker.
Yeah.
We're all surprised.
Shocker.
Ta-da! So we have this fancy guy from DC Collectibles, and it's DC Essentials as well. So yeah, it's a good one.
Just like, yeah, the DC Essential stuff, just the classic look.
He's nice and clean.
Yeah.
Very nice and clean. I'm here for it.
Awesome.
Very nice Joker. And additionally, we have
a little bundle.
A hardcover.
Oh, yeah.
This is Brian Azzarello's Joker, right?
Yeah.
So you guys get to get both of these guys. And if you want to win, hit us up on social media and let us know who is the Joker. Up to interpretation. Open to interpretation, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Who's the Joker?
Who's the Joker to you?
To you.
Yeah. Why not?
So yeah, we'll take entries until next week, and one of you could win.
Get both of these, yeah. No, I don't like, I know like not 100%, but the movie is kind of, I'll say inspired by the Brian Azzarello Lee Bermejo run. So, you know, just something to throw out there.
Absolutely.
Also, I'm contemplating, since we'll be in New York Comic Con this week and I won't really have time to do a social swap now, I mean like over the weekend.
Right.
I'm thinking some of your answers, based off of like the better answers,
Sure.
We'll put in a social swap segment next week. And I think it's actually timely because, you know, things I'm not supposed to talk about, but people have a lot of feelings about the Joker movie.
Huh.
You know?
You don't say.
Yeah. So, and you know, I was talking to some friends of mine, and they were kind of getting a little up in arms about some of the premature, like honestly, premature reactions to the movie. Like people saying things sight unseen, and I kind of like I made a comment about like, oh, well, you know, comic characters we're talking about, they have to evolve, and like I feel like a lot of times these characters in particular are allowed to evolve because they've been around for so long, you know, and they you know, have monthly installments where they pop up and they do things, and so it's kind of interesting when the mainstream media like kind of decides that like, oh no, it can only potentially be this one thing,
right?
And that one thing is troubling and it's problematic, and right? And you know, I think comic book fans, you know, if you ask a comic book fan, they'll kind of set you straight on this. So that's really what I want here. Is like, set them straight, guys. Like, this character has a long history.
Yes.
Like, is he a jerk? Yes, he is. Of course. You know, is he a villain? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, there's little nuances here that I think have allowed this character to be compelling throughout the years. Yeah. And it's a reason he has lasting power. So.
Absolutely. He's got a lot of different iterations,
a lot
and
of different iterations
already. So,
yes.
for sure.
So, yeah, give me some well thought out answers and we'll feature him on the show. Even if he don't win, we'll feature him on the show next week. So, and on that note, we are not in Toy Chest anymore. Let me turn the page on that. So, I was talking earlier, you know, when Thea's not on the show, everybody's like, "Oh, where's Thea?" You know, or like when like one of the hosts, like one of the other hosts who's not Troy, everybody's like, "Where's Gretchen? Where's Natasha? Where's where's Mia?" Well, you know what? Here's more Troy. How about that?
Bam.
Sick of this. Second fiddle. No, that's not true. I actually hate being on camera. But anyway, this is a Deadly Class, a Get Graphic we did this past week. You might have seen the video floating online, like, you know, on our YouTube because we debuted it last, like on Saturday or Friday. Sure. But here's a little deep dive that, like, you know, before we show you guys, we do this every month. It's Get Graphic, and this month's feature is Deadly Class. You know, the show got canceled, and like I saw a lot of long faces, and so I figured, let's get some shine to the comic again, because the comic's still happening, it's still out, and it's still good. So check this out, Get Graphic, Deadly Class with me. When Sci-Fi Channel canceled the TV show Deadly Class back in June, I swear you could hear the collective air get sucked out of the internet. A lot of you really dug that show, and you were very disappointed to see it get pulled. But I have good news. Where those callous cable television bean counters failed you, Image Comics has got you covered. I'm going to state the obvious right now and point out that Deadly Class is still a comic book, and it still hits comic book shops regularly. So, come on, this one is long overdue. Let's get into some creator-owned chaos. It's time to embrace your rebellious side. This is Get Graphic, school's in session, and today we're going to talk about the comic book Deadly Class. If you're the head of a cartel, the mafia, or the Yakuza, where do you send your kids to school? I mean, more than likely your teenager's a chip off the old block and way too unruly to send to public school, so you send them to King's Dominion. No, not that King's Dominion. This is the most brutal high school on Earth, a place where you learn that murder is an art and killing is a craft. Taking place in the mid-1980s, Deadly Class kicks off by introducing readers to the latest addition to the King's Dominion student body, Marcus Lopez. Marcus was homeless before enrolling, and this isn't exactly the best place to make friends. Marcus is just another damaged teenager at the school. To make matters worse, he's the least dangerous of them all, and plenty of students are lining up to make sure he knows that. Deadly Class is written by Rick Remender, who also wrote Uncanny X-Force, one of the most acclaimed Marvel runs in recent memory. His time on X-Force invited readers to re-examine what they loved about Marvel's mutants, and then pureed those nostalgic crutches at high speeds to make it all lively and dangerous again. With Deadly Class, he continues to put the reader on high alert. And with a cast of characters who are mostly teenagers, it allows readers to relive the heightened reality of adolescence. Everything feels big, everything feels important. Hatred is on the same plane as homicidal rage, and any sexual encounter must equate to the love of your life. So imagine what happens when you give those feelings weapons. Bonds are formed, enemies are made, loves are lost, heartbreak is inevitable, and everyone is constantly in way over their heads. Another thing you'll discover about Deadly Class is from page 1, it feels alive. It's visceral and hyper-stylized from the jump. This is a type of comic that you must read in print. And that's not a knock on digital, but a testament to just how perfect of a fit artist Wes Craig is for this story. He matches the emotional intensity of the subject matter. The artist shifts perspectives to accelerate action sequences. He turns entire pages into mind-expanding hallucinations. He tilts reality for impactful, page-turning shocks. Basically, Wes Craig knows what your eyeballs need. Wes Craig knows what your eyeballs deserve. Deadly Class is available from your local comic shop in trade paperback and hardcover. And yeah, it's still coming out regularly from Image Comics. The show might be done, but the story, it's not over. And that was Way of the House Husband from Viz. This one was kind of suggested to me by, we have product managers at our home office, and like one of them suggested this to me. It's being described as a cozy Yakuza comedy. Right. And we don't
beautiful.
And we don't feature enough manga on here.
That's
so
true.
I kind of figured like
That's
the
fair.
quirkier the manga, the more attention it should probably deserve.
Right.
Matter of fact, we showed you Get Graphic before this. And that was a Deadly Class one, but the one we're doing after this is going to be Prison School. So if you're looking for quirky, I don't even know if quirky is the right word to describe
it's a
it.
whole
Like,
other
this is
something.
a whole other something. But a fun read,
Yeah.
depending on how you come at it. So, but we actually forgot to do last week's winner.
We
'Cause
did.
we're supposed to do it during the toy segments.
Completely glossed over that.
That's okay. Sorry, my bad. But
So
we're
we
going to
have,
do it now.
Yeah, we have last week's winner of the Marvel Select Captain Marvel. Answering the question of what comic story do you hope gets adapted for Captain Marvel 2, our winner is Christopher Poole, who said Captain Marvel and her friendships with Jessica Jones and the Fantastic Four, getting the Fantastic Four back into movies again.
Nice. Yeah,
Solid.
yeah. I feel like, a lot of people did some pretty more recent ones, I guess.
Sure.
But I actually kind of like that because,
Yeah.
it's if you know anything about the Jessica Jones and the Captain Marvel dynamic, and you've seen the TV shows, like how do these two get along? Well,
Right.
they do. That's the funny thing about
Yeah.
it. Actually, they're both kind of alcoholics. That's a whole other storyline.
Sounds about right. I'm wearing my surprise face.
So part of that relationship does stem from that, but it would have been interesting to see that version of Jessica Jones and this version of Captain Marvel actually buddy up at some point in time.
Yeah.
But sounds like the Netflix shows are done. Seems like a lot of the Marvel TV shows plans are changing pretty drastically. Like
Sounds about
Shield's
right.
gone.
Yeah.
They just announced I guess they're pulling Ghost Rider to do something else with them. So we'll see. But I thought that was interesting, and definitely just out of familiarity, I was like, oh yeah, like I would have liked to have seen that. It's
Yeah.
too bad. But time for Social Swamp.
It's true.
We asked the question, you guys answered, so I'm gonna let Thea ask the question. Check this out. This is this week's Social Swamp.
So, of course, we asked you guys a question. This week, we wanted to know what your favorite comic book movie is that isn't a comic book. So, first off, we have Shannon Reeder, who said, from the list, it's Unbreakable, an amazing original idea portrayed by some of my favorite actors.
Nice.
Inick Dom said, super, completely ridiculous, funny, moving, and weirdly wonderful. Shut up, crime. Dantiquity said, Sky High, Blank Man, and Dark Man. Matt J. Rawson said, RoboCop.
Hey, Matt.
Another Mario C. said, comic book villains. Dark comedy about two competing shops trying to get a deceased collector's stash from his mother.
Nice, nice.
I'm here for that.
Yeah, no, actually, I remember when that movie came out. I still have not seen that one, but that was always an interesting one to me.
Yeah,
It was like
I
a little
haven't
indie
seen it.
movie, yeah.
I hadn't even heard of it, actually.
Right. Actually, we had a Judge, was it Day of Dread, like a couple of weeks back, and I mentioned this before. I fell down a 2000 AD rabbit hole,
Yep.
and one of the documentaries I ended up watching about 2000 AD, they pretty much openly stated they were like, RoboCop ripped us off.
Sounds about right. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. Which, yeah, I never made that connection in my head, but then like seeing it, like having someone say it, I was like, oh, Okay, all right, yeah, I
Yep.
gotcha. Yeah. And actually, we'll have some more about Unbreakable at the end of the show.
Sure.
But I wanted to ask you, what about you? What is a comic book movie not based on a comic book that is something you like?
Probably Mystery Men.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
You might, like, I know some people will be like, oh, it was a comic. Technically, it was not a comic.
Yeah, it was just like a bit.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah. Like it was in Flaming Carrot. Actually, I did kind of like a non-starter interview with Bob Burden, who's the creator of Flaming Carrot, and like he actually told me the story of it. Like,
Cool.
yeah, it was just like a little one-shot like thing, and like they built an entire movie around that small concept. So I'd say that counts absolutely. Earlier, I was talking about the X-Men. Particularly, like one of the things I didn't like about the X-Men movie is like they don't get to evolve. Like I was talking about that earlier.
Sure.
Because they're all kind of like stuck in a space. We're talking about this with the Joker too, right?
Yeah.
Just mainstream taste. They want just this one version of something, right? But I say that because the best X-Men movie I saw wasn't an X-Men movie. It was actually a movie called Push. It was Chris Evans and Dakota Fanning. And came out like I want to say about 2015, so I think it was before he was Captain America, if I remember correctly. Or yeah, I feel actually it must have been earlier then. But yeah, it's just basically they were like these government experimented people who had powers, and the story
This is,
takes
like,
place.
Ringing bells.
Yeah, the story takes place mostly in like I want to say Thailand, or I want to say it takes place in Asia.
It was 2009.
It was 2009. There you go.
There you go.
And so yeah, so it was definitely before Captain America.
Sure.
But like yeah, it was like, and they're like basically trying to escape these people who are trying to hunt them down. So basically the X-Men.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was Chris Evans, like it was Dakota Fanning. I think Jaimin Hunsu was the bad guy in it.
Cool.
And they were all kind of had telekinetic powers on top of that. So yeah, it was probably the best X-Men movie I'd seen. That
Wasn't an
was an
X-Men
X-Men
movie. That's
right?
cool.
So
I like that.
yeah, it was a fun one. If you get a chance, I think it's free on YouTube right now.
Nice.
It's actually what reminded me about it because like it popped up in my suggestions like recently. I was like, God, I haven't seen that movie in years. So yeah, check it out. Push. Yeah, I think it's free on YouTube.
Cool.
But that's almost it for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Down to the end of the line here.
End of the line. So comic shop shout out time?
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. Of course, as always, if you want to have your favorite local comic shop shouted out on the show, let us know what they are. Use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS and you could get a feature. This week, we're going to leave you with photos of Ontario Street Comics in Philadelphia, PA, sent to us by Chris Forsyth.
And we were talking about Unbreakable earlier. This is also the other reason I asked this question because it was like the Push thing, and then on top of this, someone suggested Ontario Street. Turns out that one of the scenes in Unbreakable is from Ontario Street in Philadelphia. Actually, M. Night Shyamalan is from Philly, I believe. So like,
Cool.
yeah, he shot in his hometown, and like, yeah, one of the comic shops featured in that movie is Ontario Street.
And here we are.
And they actually took pictures. They actually took pictures of people in Mr. Glass's wheelchair holding up, I guess, whatever comic he had in the film, like in that scene. Like there was a bunch of them, like. So don't be offended by that, but like it was one of those things where like I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. So check this out. Shout out to Ontario Street. Thank you for joining us, guys. And that's it for Previews World Weekly.
Yep.
Thea, thanks for coming back. Or Raven, thanks for joining us. And Thea, thanks for coming back. Glad you're feeling better or getting there.
Me too.
There you go. I am Troy Jeffrey Allen.
And I'm Thea, and we'll see you at the spinner rack.
Thanks for watching Previews World Weekly. If you like the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes.